Cut.
That is
Chad.
horrible.
Chad and
Justin.
Jason here.
Justin is here, not Jason. Chad is over here.
Classic.
Many names.
Chad.
I get Chad a lot as well. Okay, start. Why don't you run this one?
All right. How
Okay.
about we start with 3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome everybody to the podcast. I'm Justin. That's Chaz.
Welcome.
And we're both here. And today we're going to talk current events. Fun. But before we do that, as always, want to know what you've been consuming.
Man,
What's fresh, man?
I forgot about this question. Like, believe it or not, it's been a little bit for us to get back behind these mics. Yeah. What have you been consuming? I don't know. You go first. I need a second.
Okay, no problem. So I downloaded a book last night.
Yes.
And it happens to be a movie that I think that's pretty popular on Netflix. It was like a Netflix production, Bird Box.
Bird Box.
With, what's her name? Oh, I can see her face. Oh, gosh.
The lady in Bird Box.
The lady in Bird Box. Bird Box lady.
Yes.
She's a real famous Bird Box actress. Anyway, I'm reading the book. It's kind of modern day, kind of post-apocalyptic, kind of horror story. And so kind of burning through that. Full disclosure, like I said, I downloaded it last night. I'm already 30% done. So I'm kind of hiding from my kids and reading it a lot today.
It's like you walk around with one earbud in your ear, like always listening.
Oh, my wife does that all the time.
You say?
Yeah.
No,
my wife does that all the time. This one's actually an ebook, so I'm walking around with my Kindle like it's my phone. Yeah, I'm an e-reader. I'm jumping in on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really good so far. Really good. Man, what else? Not a whole lot else really this week. What about you?
One thing I could say lately, consuming more outdoor time.
There you go.
Is nice. So yesterday got the local friend, got the kayaks out and floated down the river. We looked it up. It said it was only supposed to be 30 minutes, and it was like an hour and a half. But it was fun. A little bit shallow. Hit a few rocks, but nothing. This isn't like white water river rafting. It is a river, but we're in these big long lake kayaks, and it was fun. It was nice to be out and do that. And then I did finish the Bonhoeffer book. More to come later, but right after I had another book queued up in Audible, so I started listening to that. It's about understanding more of kind of like the social, it's more political, socialist, democratic viewpoints. The whole move to socialism and what people might mean there, and it's actually more positive than I thought it would be. It's about the common ground we probably all have, saying that yes, we agree with these problems that are going on. We just may differ on the solution. So it's actually build that common ground as well as understand where those mindsets are coming from. So I did a lot of driving the last few days, driving around, doing a lot of picking up like Go stuff or offer up, whatever. And so I got a lot of car audio time that I used to get tons of. So it was great too.
On your commute,
yeah, the old commute audiobook time. So I got a lot of that in, and I cruised through, I don't know however many chapters, but
that's an interesting topic, and probably a conversation for a show episode in of itself.
Yes.
But I heard an amazing kind of groundbreaking approach to applying different systems of government, different political philosophies.
Yeah.
I thought it was genius. I'll paraphrase it as part of a conversation. This gentleman said, hey, listen, when it comes to my family, it's like a dictatorship.
Yep.
Like my wife and I are in charge, period.
Right.
That's how it is. Mm-hmm. Right. Is there suffering and things like that? No. That's not what we're talking about. Right. But it fits family. And this person said, and in my community, in my neighborhood, I'm a socialist. Hey, come on over. Whatever's for the good of the people.
Yep.
Borrow it. What's yours is mine.
Right.
Right. And then when it comes to like state level, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of a Democrat. Like, I want to see people, have rights, but I also think that justice is important.
Right.
I think that there's, people in our state, in our communities who don't have a voice that's really important at a state level, because there are programs and things that are effective at a state level. And then this gentleman said, and then at like a federal level, I'm like a Republican, libertarian, conservative, where I'm like, stop making me pay for everything. Don't try and take everything over because you suck, to the government. You're not good at running this stuff, so don't do it. And so he's like,
money given to the government is very low.
Yeah. So then he goes, hey, man, so what does that make me? Right. And I just like that philosophy where I'm like, I could totally buy into that. Right. Like, labels aside.
Yep.
And that's I think a fair approach to our world and our society that I'm going to think more about. I'm going to go look up that gentleman and see if he's written things, and maybe that'll be part of a future episode.
That would be good, because I think a lot of people today, and with what we'll be talking about as well, people want to be understood. People want to have a voice and be listened to, and not just acknowledging people's feelings. Like, yes, I hear you, I'm listening. I'm just trying to rebuttal, not just trying to give the other point of view.
Validation, man. People need to be heard. People need to be validated. And it's kind of like, if you ever had a friend who initially, maybe your mom or your dad were like, you know what, you need to be friends with Billy down the street. And you're like, dude, Billy doesn't play Sega Genesis. He doesn't have a Game Boy. How am I, he doesn't have a Nintendo. How am I supposed to be friends with Billy? Maybe that's your age, right?
Right.
When that sort of thing happened. And then you're like, your mom, your dad's like, we're going to set up a playtime with Billy, and you're going to need to play with him. You're like, fine. I don't even want to go, but whatever. Yeah. Right. So they started playing with Billy, and you're like, hey, Billy's not that bad. Right on. You don't really know him, but
right.
But your mom's like, wasn't it so fun to include people? And you're like, yeah. But what did that mean to that kid? Right.
Yeah.
It meant a lot. And it means a lot. And hopefully it rounds you out as a person. So
yeah,
I don't mean that it's all this selfish pursuit of, I'll allow you to be heard. It's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But everybody feels like Billy, right? Different things in their life, career, family, relationships, spirituality, politics.
Yep.
So anyways, well, anything else you're consuming this week, or should we jump right into the current event?
I think those are the big things for me right now. Besides school, I'm always consuming.
Yeah.
Be done soon, so can't wait for that day.
Do you consume school, or does school consume you?
Consuming me. Yeah.
There you go. Got it. Yeah. Nice whispers. Yeah, no secret. Nice. Well, today's discussion is really about a subject that everybody has experience with. I think everyone has an opinion on this, and those are probably some of the best discussion topics to have. So, cats out of the bag, we want to talk about COVID-19, aka the coronavirus.
That's right.
AKA, man, what else is it known as? The COVID?
I don't know if I've heard it called other things. Other than, I guess it's part of like a certain family.
SARS. Yeah.
Specifically. Anyway, but that's too technical. That's not where we're going.
We're not technical people. Sorry. So my first question is, what is your day today at home in our COVID world, and how do you cope? So what is your home life day to day COVID, and how do you cope?
And it's changed quite a bit from what it used to be. I used to wake up 5 a.m., drive 20 minutes to a train station, 45 minutes on the train, 10-minute walk, then I'm downtown, first one in the building, usually in at least my department. And now my days, like, I wake up 6:30, I come in, check on my laptop, make sure some scripts are running, go grab breakfast, get Scotty set up for the day. and then come back to work, and just really balance work life throughout that. Now that I work from home, this is the seat I sit in for all that. And then, off, at my usual time, but then I also am saving that commute home, all that time I mentioned,
Right.
reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, overall, like highlights, like I'm getting more sleep, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And that travel time is just family time, as well as I really couldn't figure out, and I was trying to, some sort of exercise routine, and that was just kind of impossible. Now it's like I get off work, I go, do whatever in the basement, and the family, kind of joins me for some of those things now, and that's just
Hmm.
the routine has kind of been like, with the little guy, it's like, I'm like, hey, you coming down in the basement? Like, you gonna jump on the trampoline, like do whatever while I'm down there? And some days he'll join for, 10, 15 minutes, but sometimes he's down there for the full, 30, 45 minutes doing something, being active. And then, and occasionally, walks, like family walks, like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can take a 10-minute break. Let's go around the block twice, right? The short walk, and just
Nice.
stuff you couldn't do before, which, kind of looking on the bright side of what's going on, those things stand out to me as like really positive,
Yeah.
things that I've been able to enjoy because of it. Otherwise, I
So
would.
do you find yourself just that's kind of refreshing to me, because I think the mentality a lot of times is lock yourself in your home office now, seal yourself up in order to
Yeah.
be productive and effective, and not
Mhm.
feel like you're taking advantage of your employer's,
Yeah.
extension of this type of work.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that, but at the same flip side, right? They're less concerned about the blurred lines after I'm off work as well. Right?
True.
I
Yeah.
mean, and I guess it's my choice as well to reply or to say, hey, sorry, I'm off
Hmm.
work, right? I could be that guy. But I'm kind of taking this as the lines are blurred on both sides right now. And that's, certain days there's more positives to that. And then other days, not that it's a negative, but I'll be pulled into a few later things. Um,
Gotcha.
and that'll just affect, like, occasionally I'll have, calls, video calls like this with Australia, and that's like
Hmm.
earliest for them, like 5, 6 p.m. is their super early mornings, and they're getting up to meet with us. So
Wow.
give and take,
Yeah.
and so I don't, you know lay a strict line right now. It's just kind of like, yeah, some days I'll spend more family time, other days I'm like, okay, I may have to close the door because I've got a lot to do, and those days occur, and the family understands, like, hey, if the door's closed, he's in a meeting, or he's
Right.
super busy, and yeah, you just roll with it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So in my situation, there was a week where I didn't report in person to work.
Mhm.
So work in an industry that's considered essential,
Yeah.
not healthcare, not a hero, just somebody who has a position that requires me to be there on site along with my team to support them.
Hmm. Yep.
And so I've seen a lot of changes in, we don't have our office open to visitors anymore,
Mhm.
customers. We don't even let the UPS guy or FedEx guy come in. Sorry. Leave it at the door
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
Um, Social distancing, enforcing that. And the week that I did work from home, kind of a challenge. But I found that the balance that made it really like an effective use of time and not make me feel like I was just huddled up in a room,
Yeah.
that working from home or having a family was somehow a hindrance to work, was actually just kind of loosening up to what you've already found works really well, which is
Yeah.
don't feel like you're, you know, you got your feet in concrete, strapped to your chair, shut
Mhm.
the door, seal it up, and
Yeah.
get your time in.
Yeah. I mean, what helps me there a little bit too is, I mean, you think about all the, I don't know if it could be completely different for other people, right? But at least for me at work, how many little interruptions would I have, or side
Yeah.
conversations,
Yep.
or the team building questions, like, hey, how was your weekend? Those types of, I mean, small talk, but
Definitely.
important relationship building things.
Mm.
Those things would come up, and that happens. Now it's, instead of coworkers, that's just your family
Yeah.
solving that. Like, you go get a drink or you go to the break room to refill your water or grab a snack or whatever it is, it's just heading down to the fridge or your sink to get some water, and you end up chatting for 10 minutes and then come back, like, same thing, just different people.
Yeah.
Just not
No,
at
it's a
work.
it's a
And
great
those things
point.
happened before. So
That's a great point, man. Nah, I dig it. So, okay, so that's a little bit about work, right?
yeah.
Very happy to be gainfully employed, right? What do
Yeah.
you think the future or impacts to the economy will be in our COVID world? What's your outlook? And again, full disclaimer, not claiming to be experts.
Yeah, we're not
Don't take our
predicting anything.
advice.
We're not PhD
No,
economists here.
no.
I, I I think to some degree in certain industries, little change, right? Manufacturing has been deemed necessary, though a lot of those jobs aren't necessarily that can be done from home. Maybe a
Yeah.
few, but they may find that they want those people back, long term.
Can I throw something out there about manufacturing?
Yeah, go for it.
So I know when you and I say that, because we've both worked in manufacturing industries in our past, that we think of very specific roles maybe, but I'm seeing some news stories that different food processing plants are going automated, peopleless.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Yes. Yeah.
Do you think this pushes, and I don't mean this to be a leading question, but do you think this pushes us more towards that, adapting and embracing to certain technologies that take the line worker and the day-to-day person out of it?
I think in some areas where, I've seen a lot of different manufacturing production lines.
Yeah, right.
Some positions along that line where it was kind of a cost savings, or at least net zero between a robot doing that. I mean, robots are expensive. Programming.
Good point.
All that is not
implementation.
Cheap. The
engineering,
upkeep, the bearings, the maintenance, the programming, everything has to be smooth.
And you have to have the space and the infrastructure in place already, right?
And depending on your manufacturing, certain robots can't be used because of certain chemicals that might be nearby. Or if you do mix robots and people, you have all these extra cages you have to supply around them to ensure everybody's safety, so they don't get
you get kind of an arm, you get a Terminator type situation.
Yeah, exactly. So
the T-1000, well, I don't know if that's what he was.
It accelerated it for those that were going that way anyway.
Gotcha.
That maybe had that capital and already had that insight, but
5-year plan or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it maybe jumped from 5 years down to 1, or 5 to 2. Or 10 to 5, right? I think it cut many years off, but is it across the board replacing all? I don't see that.
Okay.
That big, and I think the same type of feel, at least for me, is even with these companies that are there are those outliers. They're like what Twitter and a few of those were like, hey, everybody, you can work from home from the end of the year. And now they're saying indefinitely if you want.
Facebook.
There's those companies, Twitter, Facebook, that are doing that. Now, like other industries where everybody's working from home now for quite a while, I think they're going to be more open to it. It's making their culture evolve, and they're going to have to learn that whole remote work scenario. And that is not a quick learning curve for those that have done it and have it in the productivity. And everybody is going through that learning curve right now. So they're going to be at the end of it. It's just whether they want to keep those savings,
maintaining
it, and developing systems to, like, I know companies that you get hired online, within like 3 days, you got a brand new computer shipped to you, all two monitors, a mount, a desk, whatever you need. Right. And then there's other companies that are like, you call tech support and they're like, oh, you requested a monitor, I can ship it to your desk, but I can't mail it to you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. And they just don't have those systems.
Don't you feel like back in the day, like I have a coworker's spouse who for the last 3 years has worked from home, and her company legitimately was like, yeah, work from home or come into the office, totally your choice. That was 3 years ago. She's been doing that this whole time, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Isn't that a funny thing to think about? How that'd be like, who are these people who have those jobs? What do they do?
Yeah.
And how are companies so negligent in their oversight of their employees to just allow people to work from home? What a different perspective now, right?
Yeah. Well, and for people that may be struggling in that area, I've kind of been a consumer of, over the years, Basecamp. If you haven't heard of Basecamp.
Yeah.
37 Signals, I think, is their blog. And the guy that started Basecamp was the same guy. His name's not coming off the top of my head, but anyway, he's written 3 books. He's written Remote, he's written Rework, and another one. And specifically the Remote one is on how to transition to a remote workforce. And they've started Remote. He was the one that came up with Ruby, the code. And then he built Basecamp off of that. And it's their one and only product. It's they're downtown Chicago, but you don't have to come in. They've got some, anyway, they do remote. I think they're in the top 5, the best I've heard of or seen or read about. And their books are great on this topic, and a lot of information there. But some perks, like, they set you up like that. You can always come to the office if you want. They don't do bonuses, which is interesting, like structure, but they pay for a family vacation every year. They're saying, we're covering it. We want you to go. We're covering it. So it kind of kills 2 birds with one stone.
Working remotely and still a work-life balance. So get out, go do something, spend time.
Is like, is this causing work from home burnout? Like, because people are they're like, I don't know, I guess I got to be plugged in all the time. Like, everybody's going through this like crazy metamorphosis of
finding the balance that you talked about from the onset. That, like I said, to me, for everybody, pretty refreshing to hear that for somebody who hasn't had to do that transition yet.
Yeah, and work from home. It wasn't that smooth day one. I was probably just like everybody else, like, I've got to be around. But the company I work for kind of saw this coming. They sent me home a few weeks early, before like the main. Everybody, they were ahead of the game as far as sending people home. And so before the big stuff hit, I had already been home for 2 months.
Gotcha.
Through the deep of it, I was, so I've had quite a bit of time to figure this out. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears away from work and career and economics. Stimulating though.
Very. I must say.
So tell me about your community in a nutshell, and what you observe when you're out in your community as far as COVID precautions. And are there anything specifically that you look at and say, that's just stupid? Not because we want to be controversial, but I do want to get your experience and your take.
Yeah, I see a variety of things. Like the biggest things for me, I got a small window in this room I'm in. I can see out. So I'll see like joggers, bikers pass by. Unless I go out driving to a store or something, I don't, that's the other hard part, is you don't get to see out much unless you go out. From this view. I'll see a mixture of those wearing masks while exercising outside. And now that I think we're at a different level now here in Illinois. So just today I saw, parks are open, but now I've seen like I know our number is like up to 50, but now there's like, shirts and skins basketball going on at the local park, stuff like that. I'm like,
wait, masks and skins?
No, shirts and skins, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, do they wear masks?
No, no masks either side. It's like skins and masks, but full. But they're doing like full on contact sports, like.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Those types of things. So I was, and everybody has their own choice, like how flexible they're going to be there. But that to me was a little cautious.
Has anyone ever said or approached you about COVID-19 precautions?
The only, not publicly, nobody.
Okay.
But through it all, I was wearing masks to the grocery store, those types of things. I did get called out because I didn't notice the lines on the floors initially. Kind of a big deal. Like, this aisle is one directional, like you're going the wrong way. And that was only at one store. Other stores had the lines and nobody was following them ever.
Yeah. Right.
And they're still there and nobody still follows them, which
Yeah.
We've seen a few like at grocery stores and stuff without masks. And again, it's up to you. There's interesting things where, and this maybe we'll cover this later, but I've got a good friend that flies a lot.
Yeah. We will cover that.
He's been flying a ton, and he's like, I don't know, I haven't got it. I've been on all these commercial flights, so like no big deal. But then there's like the reverse case, which we'll talk about later, where the opposite can occur in one flight, right? So very, very different things. And then a lot of people, I think, and this is maybe off the question topic, but it's coming to mind that a lot of people are like, let me just get it. Let me get it. Let me.
Oh yeah, like the old-fashioned chicken pox thing. Like, let's have all our kids play together.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's be done with it, and then I can move on.
That's crazy.
But
that's crazy.
This is just a online source, not vetted or anything. But there's this nurse out there that through my wife I've heard about on social media, and she was like, you should see some of the things it's doing to kids, long-term effects on kids, long-term effects on randomly healthy normal people. It affects everybody so differently that you probably don't want to get this. Again, this is not doctor recommendation.
Right.
I've heard those stories, 36 totally healthy dies, right? 70-year-olds get it, no effects whatsoever, right? So it's you're rolling the dice and you have no idea. And some people that are young need lung transplants and need all these other major health issues the rest of their life because they got it. So it's like
lose one of your five senses.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to roll the dice?
Really?
Again? I'm like,
I love the taste of pizza, man. I love going out to Chicago to visit you guys and hit some of that Chicago deep dish. Could you imagine?
Like, I can't smell
it tastes like warm mush. There's no there's no flavor.
Yeah, for the rest of your life? Like
I'd probably lose a ton of weight actually.
The COVID after diet.
It's all warm mush. I'd eat a lot more Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
I'd probably just like get the I'd be like Popeye. I just eat the cans of spinach.
Yeah.
Comes in the same way, goes out. Why not?
You would not need to sweeten up any of those blended veggies and just drink away because you'd be like, tastes fine to me, right?
So, that's crazy. That's right. My smoothies would not have any more swerve in it.
I love swerve. Swerve's good.
Swerve's the bomb. Okay.
Anyway.
So, no, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about, I'll give you a quick preview. So I live in an epicenter, Washington State. And, experience today, I was out with the family. We were on a real short hike in one of our state parks close to our home.
Yep.
And I would say out of the people on the trail, 80% of the people on the trail that we crossed today, from folks in their 70s, 60s, I would estimate to little kids have masks on. Yeah. Our family didn't wear masks. I wasn't processing like, hey, we're going out into nature, better have a mask, right?
Right.
And we just
think.
Yeah, but if we were going to stop by Home Depot on the way home, let me tell you, we were going to have masks. So it's really interesting in our neighborhood. Our kids play together with the neighbors. We talk with the neighbors. We're outside a lot right now this time of year, Washington. If it's not raining, you try and get outside as much as you can. So that's a lot of what we've been doing, being social. Folks aren't coming into our homes. We're not having parties. We're not having COVID parties, like you said.
You're
Let's all get it. But yeah. And so, but it's a little bit easier for me to compartmentalize. Hey, if I'm going to go run some errands, go to the store, like you said, I'm going to wear a mask, right? No problem. If I'm going to go to work and I'm going to be in a meeting with people outside of my team and not be able to social distance, I'm wearing a mask. I was out on a construction site walk last week with folks from about 4 different entities. Don't know them from Adam, never met them in my life.
Yep.
And everybody acknowledged that, ahead of time by having a mask and holding the meeting outside. Could have very well been, a year ago around a conference room or in a construction trailer with a TV up, prints up. Would have been way more effective meeting, but we did what we had to do. So I see a lot of people adopting and adapting out here, and that's kind of encouraging. But I know there's also a group out there. I don't know anybody like that, and I don't have interaction. with folks that are just like, it's not real, it's fake, right?
Yeah, I've heard a bunch of this is fake, this is government conspiracy stories.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
and I don't know.
They're
Like,
giving way too much credit to the government. Sorry.
yeah, they did that one right. Well, anyway, um, how'd they get that one right? Yeah, I agree. And we're not in those states, we don't know. But
Nope.
The ones I'm hearing those stories from, again, not like vetted or counted or anything, is where the numbers are now starting to spike, and the governors have to come out and say, please wear masks. Like, yes, we did not have an issue before, now we are starting to have an issue, and hopefully that's being heeded. But it seems there may be some correlation there. I haven't run any numbers, but
hey, I'm not a governor, I don't run anything.
Yeah.
That's a very tough position to be in a public health setting, or in any setting, but especially in a public health crisis like this. And I mean, I don't like the typical news stories that are like, okay, it's official, it's a pandemic, okay, it's official, it's a second wave. It's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Second wave. It's like nobody's marking their calendar going like, okay, second wave. Oh, we made it. Okay, we did it. Or in a negative way, like, oh my gosh, the end of the world. But I feel like that's what everybody kind of has to chew on right now, is like, be really wise, because it's your own health. I'll tell you what drives me crazy though, Chaz, is given all the news stories, there's nothing about, it's like, wear a mask. How about ways to eat better, exercise, do things to boost your immune system? And it's not because you'll become Superman and invincible. That's not what I'm talking about. I hope nobody's taking this, this feedback that way. But really, it's like, how many underlying conditions have, exacerbated the effects of COVID? Diabetes, things that are actually manageable, obesity.
When I just saw an email from a doctor that I follow come through, and he's like, 85% of people are changing their diet habits right now.
Oh, good.
Through COVID.
I like it.
Now,
I like it.
I didn't read, that was the headline. I need to read into it further, but that could be good or bad. Like, I mean,
true. Yeah.
Because a lot of the pre-news to that I was hearing is, people that were all, complete organic, shopping at whole paycheck. They've gone away from some of those things, whether to, conserve cash or whatever, and do what you need to do.
True.
But it's like, are these for the better? Like, have you put on your COVID-15, right? Like your sophomore 15 or sophomore 20 of college, right? Where
nice.
It's like, do I have my COVID-15? I'm carrying it around. Maybe that came, and since this is looking to be a bit more long-term, like maybe that goes away. Where, I used to, example, I mentioned I used to have a 10-minute walk from the train station twice a day, and I would be booking it usually because I'm right. You get caught up and you're like,
all your stuff.
Catch my train. Yep. Sometimes I've actually ran that whole way to catch a train, and it's like, I'm not getting that like short sprint distance, that walking as much. That's why I was like, I got to get this in my routine at home to compensate. But so completely like. Yeah, where's the news? Where and if anybody's listening, you guys have sources or something, like if there are people out there like, hey, do this, take these vitamins, do this exercise, watch this, do this healthy stuff, things to promote just general health and immune system, right? And I have heard, and there's a big whole health system push to your microbiome in your gut, right? And most of your immunity comes from there. And if you're eating the food that's killing those bugs in your belly, then that's like backward with your diet, right? So all that comes into light with all this happening.
It kind of feels like, Chaz, given that there are so few voices like that you and I hear in our day to day, that it kind of feels like, the vaccine becomes the end all, because economics, work aside, personal finance aside, I feel like people just want the one-stop solution, so they can be like, okay, cool, let me go back to everything the way it was, where I think part of the message of hope that we've got is always this silver lining approach that says, hey, are you eating different? Are you working from home and actually, killing it? Because there's nothing stopping you from doing those things, right?
Cook the healthiest meal 3 times a day if you make it a priority and do it.
Do intermittent fasting. You're sitting on your rear at home. Maybe it was hard at work because there's so much temptation around. But if you hold yourself up in your office or doing your thing, maybe that's a little bit easier. So I think that's, part of the message is maybe turn off the news a little bit. Yes, there's going to be new facts. Eventually, there's going to be a vaccine. And I'm not trying to go conspiracy theorist, things like that. Somebody going, but how do you know? It's like, because this is the largest pandemic in our lifetime.
People throughout the world working on this all.
That's right. Billions of dollars being spent. Forget who's at the helm. No comment there. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of work to get it done.
Oh yeah.
So let me share just kind of some of my experience that maybe people can relate to. Or if you're considering travel, let's talk a little bit about travel.
This is the first time me hearing this, so I'm interested in hearing what I was alluding to is your travels and completely different from my other friend who travels all the time.
So you and I were going to have this episode done weeks prior.
Yes,
but I actually had
COVID week. Yeah, because of this.
I had a COVID week. That's right. So my family chose to maintain or keep a trip that we had to go visit some family a couple states away. And so we ended up flying. My wife and my kids flew. They followed the airline's policies in face coverings, airport policies, and they traveled. I think there was probably 30% occupancy in the plane. So pretty empty. My wife's feedback, because she flew out a few days before I did. I joined them later. But her preview to me was, it's going to be like a library. And I'm like, what's like a library? She's like, the whole thing. The whole experience, security, ticketing, the whole thing. It just feels like it's not so much that people weren't talking, but there was an absolute focus. You and I have both been to libraries throughout our education days and college days.
For sure.
Where there was, hooking up going on. There was just kind of going to just be social.
Which level
going on? All different kinds. All that going on in the library, and you're like, man, this is the most least effective place. But you and I would have the experience of going to maybe a different floor, maybe a different area, or maybe a set-aside area where it was like walking into a different atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
Where there was like a palpable focus. And it wasn't like, I don't know, it's almost like you can feel when there's a commitment in the air to dedication, a discipline. When there's like a palpable discipline in the air. That's the best way that I could describe what it was like going through our airport, security, getting on the plane, the entire flight. There's a laser focus that people have that isn't like you look at the person to your left, I did that backwards, but person to your right, person to your left, and think, I wonder if they've got it. That wasn't the vibe. It was genuinely like, the only people who are choosing to fly right now have a purpose or a commitment to whatever their purpose is in flying. Now, full disclosure, like I said, we were holding and following through with a family trip. This was not a work trip. This was not, going to attend a funeral or a wedding or something like that. This was time off. And we chose to do that. That wasn't contrary, by the way, if anyone's wondering, to our federal, state, local recommendations. It totally gelled with all of those. But in the end, we got with our family. We went to our secluded cabin on a reservoir in the state of New Mexico, 6-hour drive from where we were, just to the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
And set up there. We're with the same 6 people the entire time. But on one of those days, we had some family visit, extended family living in the area. And one of those individuals is a healthcare worker.
Yeah.
And as part of her job, her employer requires her to test weekly for COVID-19 because of the healthcare environment that she's in. And so she came over to the cabin on a Saturday. We were hanging out, visiting. Again, there was nothing out of the ordinary that was going on. Just family visiting, had some dinner, right? They left. So she had taken a test on Friday. Employer required for her employment. She visited on Saturday. She received a asymptomatic positive test result on Monday morning. And so she called everybody. Very daunting thing to do, but she called all of us and was like, I am so sorry, but I have tested positive. I am asymptomatic. Asymptomatic meaning showing no symptoms, right? Not even a fever. But it put our family in a whirlwind there for a morning, and it was just at a standstill. Like, well, what do we do? So our situation was this person had been there at the place we were staying 3-4 days before. And so we called up the local county health office and said, hey, there's 6 adults here that need to go take a test for COVID-19 because we've been around an asymptomatic positive. And when we were around that person, we were not aware. We weren't aware that she was positive. She wasn't either. Nobody was.
Wow.
So we proceeded to take the test the next morning. We scheduled it. We were in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. The county office we went to about 45 minutes away was like the size of a single car garage. It was tiny. I don't know the population of that county, but I'm going to suspect there's no way it's more than like 20,000 people. So I live in the greater Seattle area, millions of people, epicenter, right? I haven't been living under a rock. I've been going to work as an essential worker. No symptoms, no positives, don't even know a person who's tested positive in Washington State in the months since this thing's happened. We had to go all the way to the middle of nowhere to New Mexico, secluded as a family.
Unplugging from everything,
Totally unplugged.
And it follows you there.
And it follows us. We find it, right? And we find it in a healthcare worker that I'm really glad to say she's doing fine. She went through her quarantine, but we circled up as a family. We got that test done, and we were basically saying we need to isolate for 14 days.
Right.
And so we did that. I had to extend my time off to include a week of working remotely, and had my work devices shipped to me. I had my phone, but if anybody out there who's heavy on Outlook or heavy on Teams, Skype, other requirements for work, your phone's not going to do it for a week of productivity. So we ended up staying with that same family members that were all exposed at the same time. I think there's a handful of different methods to test out there. We got the 6-inch long kind of like mummification probe up the nose. I say mummification because it reminded me of the archaeologists that say, oh yeah, well they used to mummify people by shoving a red hot probe up the nose and scrambling the brains. It kind of felt like that, but they didn't go up into the brain. They went back through the sinuses, right, and back to the throat, swabbed. It kind of like made you tear up a little bit. Got that done. 3 days later, got a text. Everybody got a text. Everybody's negative. But that was at that point day 7. So we still had per CDC recommendations another 7 days. So here's what we chose to do as a family, and this isn't self-aggrandizing, but what we chose to do is to not keep our flight that had us on day 8 of the exposure flying back home. We just said, you know what? We feel fine. We feel great. We've got a negative test, but you'd effectively have to test every single day of those 14 days for the viral test
Okay.
to know with absolute clarity. So
Yeah.
rather than putting others on our flight at an unknown,
Yeah.
not able to perceive, we wouldn't even know how to quantify it. What would the risk even be? We don't even know to others. Rather than doing that, hey, let me get my work stuff. We'll stay with our family. You know, we'll stay away from home. We'll get through this 14 days. We'll make sure that everybody's good, that everybody's doing well. And that's what played out. We flew back a week ago, and same story on the flight, just maybe 30 people on there, you know, maybe half occupancy.
Yeah.
Security was really, really fast. We're wearing masks the entire time. For those in the audience who don't know, I've got kids under 5. All my kids are under 5 for another week. But the kids aren't wearing the masks. I mean, they're trying, you know. Yeah. But my wife and I did. We get back home, and man, it was a relief. It was a little bit scary. There were times where, you know, my wife and I talking about it said, what did we expose our kids to? What did we expose ourselves to? And what we realized pretty quickly is that because we were exposed to a person who had no idea, she was symptom free, and she had no idea whether she had any kind of COVID or flu or anything at all. Because there were no symptoms, you know, she followed through to visit some family who she hadn't seen in 4 years, which is what played out.
Yeah.
And so we basically considered it no different than if we were at the grocery store with somebody who feels great, who may test positive.
Yep.
And you don't know the exposure to people who are asymptomatic. Well, that's my story, man. That's my had to go to the middle of nowhere to come face to face with COVID and get tested.
I didn't realize it was so remote. Everything, which I mean, that sounds amazing, just to go and unplug and do all that. And then for, I mean, healthcare workers, right? Everybody's you know, singing the hero tune. They are
frontline
workers. They're definitely like they're in the trenches. They're, you know, they're doing that. I had a friend. He just moved. He was at the hospital that's almost a throne's throw away from where I live, 5 minutes, and he was in and out of that stuff every day, and he would get tested again, like all that. And he's like, how am I not positive by this point? Right.
Not
even antibody, like he has no antibodies. And he's like, he's totally been in compromising situations for patients and stuff. And he's just like, I didn't have all the right gear on all the time because of what you're doing there. And to continue to test negative, just crazy. And then there's tons that are like this experience, like that are getting tons of that are positive but asymptomatic, and then they have self-quarantine, can't do anything.
It's like we said earlier, this isn't going down a rabbit hole of conspiracy, but there's a lot we don't know. There's a lot we don't know about transmission and communicating this disease.
And if anything, for the vaccine, that's the biggest unknown. And I think they keep admitting to that. They're like, we don't know. And the biggest thing I'm hearing is it's triggering different autoimmune responses in different people. And that's big
inconsistent results, in other words.
And there may be some DNA links, there may not be. You know, the whole age thing and kids thing have been debunked a little bit. So there's so much unknown, which is kind of the crazy part, because it's like, I know it's 17, so there's 16 other COVID numbers prior that it's in this family, but this one is so unique. I'd love to hear, you know, a microbiologist's, you know, point of view, or, you know, if there's a study on viruses, like, explain. I understand there's like this whole, you can participate in protein folding, if you've heard of folding at home with your computer and use your GPU card or whatever, and you can unfold these proteins to try and help them understand more about the COVID. I think that's, you know, some people out there might be interested in doing. Thought that might be Cool. I've thought about it. If you have has to be Windows based to really utilize that. So, but yeah, man, that's crazy. Just everything going through that. And love to hear what people are interested about. I mean, those kind of me and you've had very different experiences with what's going on with our job and experience. And, kind of the worst, I've got a friend that I was thinking maybe we could bring on, maybe if we continue some of this COVID stuff idea. He was part of the furlough group for his employment.
Gotcha.
Didn't know if it was coming back that time. I'd love to hear his perspective and, kind
Definitely.
of through that, the COVID, because I think maybe there's a bunch of people out there in that scenario where it's like, how'd you get through that? How'd you find hope through that? What did you do? I know some of the answers to those, but it might be cool hearing it from someone that had to go through that. He has
absolutely.
It's like been able to get back to work with the same company and whatnot. So blessings there. And I know many people maybe are still waiting for that to occur.
For sure.
And so for those in that situation, I mean, I only had, plans in my mind, like, hey, if this happens, I'm going to go deliver pizza or something, whatever.
Right.
And they also, hopefully they were able to take a part in some of the government subsidies for short-term, but those haven't been renewed. And I think July was the month. I don't know if it's through July or it was the beginning of July. So maybe something we can dig into and dive more into on another episode. I think there's a lot there to understand and get some more people's perspectives. So
100% agree, man. You and I are on the surface on this. It's still going on.
Very real.
It's real. And the impact of people's lives are real. And I love what you said, though, because there's still blessings that come from this. There's silver lining.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely true with any crisis in life. We've experienced our own a number of times, and this is a larger one. And these type of challenges either, spread you and wear you out, or kind of bring you together. And that's the message I'd throw out there to people who have, family, who have those in-home relationships, is just like you said, man, you're a great example. Take the time with your family. Put the phone down. Okay. Doesn't mean don't be informed, but shut the news off and go see what your kids are doing, because they're going through it too. Your spouse going through it, your girlfriend, your mother, your father, your parents, grandparents, they're going through it. And just you and I talking just reminds me of that everybody has a unique experience with this. And yet that hope that everybody is kind of clamoring for, whether it's in the form of a vaccine or your government conspiracy being validated, which isn't going to happen.
Right.
Or landing that job. I mean, whatever that next relief of stress looks like, we hope everybody finds it. But I can tell you right now that, if you've got a family, cling to your family right now, extended family, renew those relationships, because that's going to help you in good times and in bad, in a post-COVID world. But also, again, don't look for the news stories on this, but look in your communities, look in your neighborhoods, look in your towns and where you live, and see the resiliency of people, and take some heart in that. No one is alone in this. No one's alone. That's what I'm feeling.
We need to about wrap it up here, but I think some of the things we just said, I'm going to count as the mentor minute, and almost just be that, or be willing to take help from other people. I think would be
great,
man. Here, right? If you're in a situation where you can help others, now's the time. If you hear about anything, and maybe about your neighbors, maybe you never see them, maybe it's your family, like everything we talked about today, like use what you have. And I know this is a whole turn lemons into lemonade story a little bit, but I mean, if you've got that extra time and you've got some of that money from the government and you're okay, I mean, use that time, spend the time with your family. You you may not get these types of opportunities again. And if you're, out there hunting and hustling and trying to get a job, and and I hear, not experience this, but there's tons of companies that, because of the extra man, like Amazon has to hire so many hundreds of thousands of people, right? There's other companies out there doing this as well that are supporting so many people, and they need the extra help. So it may fit for you or may not, but if you're in a scenario where you need that help, feel free to reach out, family, friends, community, see what's out there, right? I think a lot of people they're celebrating, they're doing the parades. I don't know if you've had a honking parade go past your neighborhood.
Right.
They go around just honking for everybody out there in the front lines, like we've talked about, and how I think your story is great. For even in those scenarios, they take time for their family too, right? Taking that break, come to see family they haven't seen in 4 years. My doctor friend taking the time he could to spend some time with family as well. During that, he'd had a week off as well, already planned, and then it hit. So he had to take it anyway, stuff like that. So hopefully this give you some ideas, some insights, some light. And if there's things out there that you want to make us aware of, we can, mention.
Scratching the surface, man. Scratching. We'll definitely talk about this again. But as always, appreciate your words and your wisdom, spoken like a true gentleman.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, everybody. If you've liked this video, click subscribe below. If not, that's cool too. So,
if not, just watch some more episodes.
Yeah,
listen to more.
More is coming.
We'll get you.
So
that's right.
What do we say? All right. See you later. Bye.
That was like total Ron Burgundy. That was hilarious.
Who put the question mark at the end of the prompter?
Lost it.
Goodbye. Oh yeah, we're freezing, I think. So
where did you go? My little English gentleman. There you are.
There you are, back.
Oh, you're gone again.
Oh no. Okay. Love it.
How now, brown cow?
How now, brown cow?
How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow?